What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the RiOT Comedy
Hello.
Podcast, presented by RiOT. Shout out to RiOT, natural spring water, keeping us healthy and hydrated over here. We hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. We hope you got amazing New Year plans and 2025 is great for you. But let's get into what's been popping in the sports world lately. First thing I want to start off with, that Steph Curry shot. I wish we had the licensing rights to show y'all highlights. If you haven't seen it, transition, this fool around the back, jumping off his right foot, puts up a right-handed floater, beat the buzzer. One of the greatest transition plays I've ever seen. What was your initial thought on it? I've never seen that before. I've never seen what he did done.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it was like he was in the driveway. Now, as far as like greatest transition play I've ever seen, like I honestly like most oop catches more than that.
It's not number one, but it's up there.
It's
My
something
my
that's
favorite transition play is the Kobe Bryant outlet pass from Robert Horry. One dribble around the back, 180 dunk on that fool. That's
that was
the
awesome.
best transition play I've ever seen.
But yeah, the Steph Curry shot was pretty wild. I didn't think too much of it just because it was Steph, and I was like, yeah, probably. So I guess like I was just the guy that's like Steph, yeah, probably. So I guess Steph ruined it for
Yeah,
me by being so
it is
good.
a Steph. Yeah, probably. My thing was after I actually thought about it, I'm like, who
It's
even
incredible.
can do that? Who even has the quick thinking and skill level combination to pull that off? It's like Kobe Bryant, Kyrie Irving,
Ah, shit, I think there's a lot of guys out there.
James Harden, maybe J.R.
Jamal
Smith. There's
Crawford.
not a lot of dudes.
Jamal
Jamal
Crawford do
Crawford,
that
yeah.
for
We're
sure.
gonna name less than 10 guys even trying to do that. Like I thought about the dudes who could do it. It's not very many dudes.
I don't know. I'm not surprised by like the bags and like it's not like Steph even thought he was gonna make it though. It's not like he did it and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get this off." He just did what he had to do to get the ball in the air.
I don't think so. I think he thinks everything is going in.
Well, of course he does. Of course he does. But what I'm saying is like, loop-de-doo, whatever. I don't want to get stuck on this play too much because we had a lot of buck wild things happen in sports the last couple weeks since
No doubt.
D'Lo doesn't play for the Lakers anymore. Yeah. Actually, I don't even know what to think about that because he had like a decent salary, an expiring contract. It was a decent salary to match and try to get actually a really good player. So I don't really know like what really good players out there they can get now without that D'Lo expiring matching contract. I didn't think D'Lo was that bad. If they think getting rid of D'Lo is going to solve any of their playmaking problems, going to solve any problems whatsoever, I think that they're silly. I don't think that they understand. I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith, like great 3-and-D wing, I suppose, but like at the end of the day, like you lost a play. Not that D'Lo's a playmaker, but you lost essentially one of your playmakers since you don't have a lot. And I think you could have developed Dalton Connect into the same good as Dorian Finney-Smith over the next 2 months and use that expiring D'Lo contract for something better. However, though, you still have all your first-round picks. You didn't really lose much. So at the end of the day, we'll see how it plays out. I don't think I don't know. I don't think I can give a grade on it quite yet.
My thing is you got rid of the dude who was the lowest effort guy on your team. Good
Correct.
job.
Correct.
Good job.
It's interesting because we saw Draymond Green just freak out on a teammate for that exact thing.
Right,
And
right.
it just goes to show you, though, like, what happens to these players when they play for bummy franchises for half a decade to 7 years.
Yeah.
Like Buddy Hield out here just playing basketball because I've never played any meaningful basketball whatsoever.
Right. It's a tough spot to be in. It really is.
It is a tough spot to be in, but like you played for the Sixers last year and got pulled out of the rotation for not trying hard enough. Now you got Draymond Green yelling at you. There's a reason why you've made the second most threes in the league since you got drafted and you are a journeyman. So neither here nor there, just saying getting rid of D'Lo, but that's kind of the exact same example. But because D'Lo, when he's checked in, is pretty solid. Like he's like one of the main reasons why the Lakers made the conference finals a couple years ago. But
for sure.
If you can't bring that energy every day, then there's no point in you being here.
If D'Lo brought it every day, he wouldn't be an NBA journeyman.
No.
This dude is. This is just another trade of many before and many to come.
At least though, he's been traded several times in his career, but it doesn't look as bad because like the same teams that already had you keep getting you. So at least you're not like completing the rainbow jersey like Shaq and all these cats.
For sure.
Like at least like, sure. I was a rookie on the Lakers. Now I played for the Lakers again. And then I was like already on the Nets. We went to the playoffs together. And
Yeah.
now I'm back on
I,
the
I
Nets. So like,
wasn't that bad if both of these teams wanted me back. I couldn't have been that bad.
no, D'Lo's straight, dude. But like, at the end of
Nah,
the
he
day, he's
is.
supposed to be your fifth, sixth best player, and he plays
Absolutely.
sometimes when he's
Absolutely.
feeling
For
it.
sure.
So, but also, in the world of sports, we predicted the Rams would win the NFC West before the season started. I think actually I haven't went back and watched our podcast, but we actually predicted most of the. I think we predicted most of them correct.
Yeah.
I know we picked Tampa in the NFC South. I know we picked. I don't remember who we picked in the NFC East. I know we picked Buffalo coming out of the AFC East. I know we picked
Yeah.
Houston. I know that we picked the Rams. I know that we picked the Chiefs. I know that we picked the Lions. So we picked most of them correct. But yeah, I think we picked most of them correct. I'm pretty sure.
Did
So
did did
kudos to
we
us.
have did we have did we pick Baltimore or did we pick Cincinnati to win the AFC East?
You picked Baltimore. I picked Cleveland, and they suck.
We picked Cleveland.
I picked Cleveland. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Last
super. Dropped the ball there pretty hard. But I know that you picked Baltimore just because you were like, I mean, I have to. I don't really have a choice.
Gotta go with the safe pick. They got Lamar,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and they have Lamar, so that's the right pick. And then I just can't remember. I think we picked most of them correct though, like at least like 90% of them correct. So kudos to us.
Yeah.
Rams were 1-4. For those that don't know, we are Rams fans. Rams were 1-4, and we've won 6 games in a row now. Feeling ourselves, clinch the division thanks to the Commanders. Shout out Commanders for that big dub last night. Shout out the Falcons
No
field goal
doubt.
kicker who
All
fucking
that.
couldn't even kick it 56 yards. Shout out all these bums. Shout out all these
We,
superstars.
we
Shout out
started off
everybody.
1-4. I was hella nervous starting off 1-4 that we was gonna miss the playoffs.
Well,
Uh,
even whenever we won a couple games in a row, and I think we got to like 3-4, and I was still the guy that was like, we're not very good. Like, you should trade Cooper Kupp and Puka and Stafford. Like, let's just go ahead and rebuild this whole thing.
yeah.
And I don't really think I still have egg on my face because the question I have is like, I don't think we're good enough to win anything even remotely special. I'm even nervous if we have to play like the Packers in the first round of the postseason. That even makes me nervous. How far do we make it? The Rams, like, how far are we really gonna go? I think it's a situation where I think we're one and done. I don't even think we win the first game of the postseason. Sorry, Rams fans, I love the Rams,
I
but
don't
like,
think so either.
I don't want to play the Packers. I'm trying to play Commanders.
You know, I don't really care who we play first round. To me, if you lose in the first round or second round or whatever, it's kind of just whatever. Unless it's like a year after year thing, then you want to see your team like at least make some progress. You don't want to be like Dallas and losing the first round. But I don't think we're gonna make it past the first round. But I will take whoever. The only team I think we can't beat is Detroit. I think we can beat anybody else, whether it's Green Bay or whoever.
See, I think
Minnesota.
we can beat Detroit just because of their injuries. Like, they're giving up 30
Yeah,
points a night. So you're like one Jared Goff pick 6 away from not being able to come back.
true. Very true.
Philly, I don't want to play Philly. Like, I know they have some dysfunction over there, whatever, man. Coaches yelling at players,
Yeah.
yelling at fans, teammates not liking each other. I don't care. Like, we played the Eagles already once this year, and Saquon Barkley ran loose for like 265 yards against us and like really
Yeah, it was
beat the
pretty
shit
bad.
out of us. So
It
I
was
don't
pretty
want to play
bad.
Philly. Like, I think their offensive front is too good for our defensive line. Like, I don't think there's anything we can do against them. I'd like to see them upset by somebody so we don't have to play them. I'm
Yeah.
not super. I mean, I don't think we can beat Minnesota either, though. Like, I really don't. I know we beat them once this year, but that team's fucking good, and they're like pretty healthy. And that kind of leads me into this, though. Like, now that we kind of know who's making the playoffs, like, regardless of the Falcons or Buccaneers, like, I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl pick of yours. And I think when the season, I don't remember who we picked when the season started to go to the Super Bowl. I know I picked Rams Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl when the season started. I think you might have picked the Niners.
I know I had Chiefs. I think I did have Niners. I think I had the Chiefs beating the Niners again. That's what I had.
So your shit's fucked right out the gate. You're fucked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
but now that we kind of know, like, because now we know injuries, a lot more of the injuries, which is like, of course, like a big part of the NFL. It's one of the biggest things. Now we know
For sure.
records. Now we know seeding. Like, obviously, we have a week of football left, but most shit is pretty much set as far as who you would pick to go to the Super Bowl. So, like, with
Absolutely.
that being said, who you got in the Super Bowl?
I'm gonna keep the Chiefs. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm ditching my Niners pick, and
Are you sure?
I think we're gonna get Chiefs Lions. I think Detroit's gonna make it out of the NFC and lose in the Super
Detroit.
Bowl.
I just think
Detroit.
they're too injured. They're missing like 5, 6 of their starting defensive players. Like they're giving up too many points. I think
Hmm.
I think that the
There's a
NFC
problem.
I think the NFC is going to be
Wide
pretty buck
open.
wild. Like the NFC is
Yeah.
wide open. And I think that we might see, and this is usually a team I would never pick to do anything, but I think that we might see Minnesota come out of there just because I think that consistently they've played some of the best football in the NFC, obviously. They've won like 8
Hmm.
games in a row. An interesting, like, if they win next week against the Lions, which is obviously Sunday Night Football, they're the 1 seed. So that's how good they are.
Do you think we could get something wild like
Like
Washington?
Packers? No. No, Washington, no, they're not good enough. They're a year away. They're not good enough. I've seen them play enough
Yeah.
football this year to know they're not good enough. I think the Packers are good enough just because I think Jordan Love, when he gets hot, can have a 2 or 3 game stretch. See, that's the thing with the Packers is
Yeah.
I think they're good enough to go to the Super Bowl, but I don't trust Jordan Love to have 3 good games in a row to get them to the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. And I think Jordan Love is great, but I think he's a gunslinger, and I think there's going to be a game where he has 2 interceptions. And I think the NFC is better than we thought it was going to be when the year started. And if you throw 2 picks against like the Eagles with the way Saquon can control the running game and the time clock with that, I think you lose there. I think if you throw it against Minnesota, they just lost to Minnesota last week because Minnesota looked like a more experienced football team. Like we just saw them lose yesterday at the end of the fourth quarter. Packers gave it all they got, but I just think that they're still a year away. They're the youngest team in football. They're a year away. But I do think we're going to see, my pick is going to be Minnesota coming out of the NFC. And I think it's just because they have it all. And they're pretty healthy. Like, I just think injuries are playing it. I think Detroit's the most complete team in football, but with like Hutchinson being out and a couple of their other defensive linemen being out, one of their linebackers is out. I know you guys can score 35 points at the drop of a dime, but all it takes is one fumble, one punt block, like anything like that. And I think Detroit's behind the 8 ball. Like they basically have to score every possession. So I think Minnesota, I think Kansas City's the sure pick in the AFC. They've proven this whole season they're the best team. It's interesting to see this kind of the slander that gets put on their name for not winning by enough when you win every game. They win every game. Like, these motherfuckers have lost 1 football game since Christmas of 2023. Like, they've, like, out of their last, like, 22 games, they're, like, 21-1. So, like,
Yeah, they're good.
I ain't really, and that, like, including the playoffs last year, like, I ain't tripping on Kansas City.
I
And
can't
if you
wait
look
for
at,
that
like,
Bills Chiefs playoff game. I do know that.
and if you look at the last 2 full NFL seasons, because they're going to rest their players next week against Denver, too. And if you don't count the games they lost from resting players, they've probably only lost like 3 games in the last 2 seasons combined. Because they got the 1 seed last year, too. No, that was 2 years ago. Last year, they didn't get the 1 seed because they went to Buffalo and won. They went to Baltimore and won. And they beat the Dolphins whenever they were hot. So, quite the impressive playoff run. But yeah, these dudes, like, they're unstoppable. They're playing with fire. I'll admit they're playing with fire. But, when you know how to, it's not as dangerous.
They are, but the thing is, like, I know there's been some skepticism from some sports analysts and whatnot saying, well, they haven't scored over 30 points. They're not scoring enough points. Like, is that going to work in the playoffs and yada, yada? It's like they find ways to win, and their defense is holding teams to however many points they got to hold them to win. It like,
Well, also,
they just, and they're so
30
disciplined.
points
They're
is a
just not
lot.
gonna,
30 points is a
but to
lot.
do it
Like,
0 times,
I think the
times
Rams
is crazy.
I think the Rams have only done it once this year, maybe twice. Maybe. Twice? Okay.
Twice.
Okay.
We scored exactly 30. I don't
And then we
remember
scored
who it was.
44.
Maybe we dropped 44 on. But since we dropped 44 on Buffalo, so we scored 5 touchdowns in that game. We've only scored 3 touchdowns in our 3 games combined since then.
Won them all.
Won them all. Luckily, our defense gave up 9, 9, and 6.
So I'll take all, like, that's the thing, though, is that, like, people would be like, you didn't score this many points. But, like, if your football team is winning games, it's really hard to win in the NFL. We've seen it time and time again. These teams in the NFL season, the first 4 weeks, don't fucking matter. And everybody knows they don't matter. And you have teams like the Saints that start off 2-0 and score 90 points in 2 games. There was another team that started, like Baker Mayfield started super hot MVP conversation. Once week 4 is done, once week 4 is gone, like the Ravens were 2-2, the Bills were 2-2, the Rams were 1-4 after 5 weeks. After that 4 or 5 weeks, that's when people put their big boy pants on. That's when coaches start fucking coaching. That's whenever real fucking football starts, and that's what separates motherfuckers. So that's what we saw.
Really, exactly. Once games get to where it's like everyone starts to like really be locked in, big separation starts to happen.
And it was instant. And the NFL is cool because it's instant. Like in the NBA, you see, okay, it's Christmas. All right, cool. We're feeling this motherfucker out. We're playing a little bit harder. Then once the All-Star break gets here, then it's fucking all going, all fucking everybody on board. Let's fucking go. So, but the NFL has to do it after a month. Yeah. So then you instantly see like the Ravens 2-2, the Bills 2-2. Then all of a sudden they're fucking 5-2. The Rams were 1-4. Now all of a sudden we're fucking 10-6. Could go 11-6. And it's because we have a good quarterback, good coach. Like that's when shit gets real different. That's when shit starts to separate itself a ton. So, I like what we're seeing out of the NFC better than what I thought. But yeah, I got Vikings, Chiefs. Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns. Chiefs are healthy at the right moment too. We're probably gonna get to see a 3-peat, which is pretty cool. About it. Cool. So I think that kind of wraps it up on the NFL, because I really wanted to talk NBA stuff with you, because we also haven't got to talk about any Jimmy Butler news, because Pat Riley's like, nah, we ain't trading him. And Pat Riley might mean that shit. Like this, Pat Riley's hardcore. Yeah. Like he refuses to lose even in a trade. And it's going to cost him. It's going to cost him another championship. Yeah. It's going to cost, I think Miami had a chance to win another championship over the last 2 or 3 years, and his refusal to like give up more than what players are worth and all these things is going to bite him in the ass. Now, I will say this though, that his inability to lose a trade and his like unwillingness to give up a little bit too much did save him from James Harden. It has saved Miami, and it saved him from Damian Lillard. Not knocking either one of those guys, but when you give up a lot for guys in their mid-30s, shit has to go perfect for that fucking trade to work out. So it has saved him from a lot, but you probably could have got Drew Holiday when he was traded to the Trailblazers. I don't know. I guess my question is like, what do you think is a fair asking price for Jimmy? Because I'm sure they're asking for like 3 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps. Like they're going to want like a Kevin Durant package. Some bullshit like that. Drew Holiday, the Bucks traded 3 first-round picks for him, but he was 28, 29. So a little different. Jimmy Butler's clearly on his last leg. So what do you think is a fair trade package? Let's not even say like maybe players. Let's just say like fair trade package as far as how many first-round picks would you want for Jimmy Butler realistically?
Well, realistically, okay, so you're looking at a guy, I don't know how old Jimmy is. He's probably, I feel like he's like 34 or 5.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like my age. Like I'm 34. I feel like Jimmy Butler is like pretty much the same. So it's like you're getting a dude who is only going to play maybe 5 more years in the NBA total. He's only going to be good for 2.5 of those. So what are you willing to give up for 2.5 years of good basketball for a guy who is no longer good enough to be the best player on a championship team, but is good enough to be the second best player on a championship team? Like, for me, that's worth like 2 picks and 2 decent players.
Yeah.
But nothing, not a high pick and not a high level player. Like, you know.
Well, I mean, but in theory though, like any first round pick,
Jimmy's old, man. I can only give up so much for an old dude.
In theory, though, any first round picks you give up for Jimmy Butler while he's on your team probably aren't going to be high picks anyways, because like you wouldn't make that trade unless you feel like it puts you in contention, right? Like you would never make that trade unless it's like, okay, this makes sense. Like I think that this puts us over the top. So in theory, like you probably wouldn't have too many of those. It's just I don't even know where he can go at this point due to the new collective bargaining agreement. Like even if he went to the Mavericks, they'd have to trade Clay, which I don't really like the optics of that a ton. Like, I do think Jimmy Butler's better than Clay, but I do think there's something to be said about like don't sign with the Mavericks then because they'll trade you 3 months in, even if you're Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about like reputations around the league, all those things that kind of go into it. I mean, that's where I was saying about like the D'Angelo Russell contract. Like if you're the Lakers, you maybe could have had Jimmy Butler for D'Lo, another player, and then all 3 of your first round picks like are going to have to go.
Yeah, for sure.
All
If you're
three of
gonna
those
trade D'Lo
motherfuckers are
for
gone.
Jimmy, Pat Riley wants all your picks.
And you can have them all because if you're the Lakers, it's like last hoorah. Like that's what I'm talking about. These teams, it's like I would also.
Absolutely.
I mean, so like I guess the question I would have to you is like, what team realistically should even try to make a play for Jimmy Butler as far as like salary cap goes, all those things. Like, obviously Orlando might be an option, possibly. You know, maybe Sacramento is willing to trade DeMar and a bunch of first round picks for Jimmy to try to pair him up with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, but I think that's going nowhere fast with a fired head coach.
Yeah.
So what do you look at? Like, like what team do you look at?
know,
And you're like, they should make a swing.
well, I think let's say collective bargaining rules aside, because I'm not hip enough on how complicated it is now.
Well, I'll
But I
tell you if it'll
think,
go through or not.
but I think, the people who are like right on the cusp of contending, it's like
Milwaukee makes the most
where
sense.
Milwaukee makes a lot of sense. I think Denver makes sense. I think aside from trading Clay, Dallas would have made sense. I think there's a little bit of sense to be made in Phoenix, but I think like the best destinations would be Milwaukee or Denver. And I think those would be the two best places where Jimmy could win a ring. So if there's something that could work out those two, I think those would be the best options.
I mean, so Milwaukee's off the table. They'd have to trade Dame or Giannis for
Right.
Jimmy, which obviously you wouldn't do. And I thought I'd like the new CBA, but I really don't now. I'm kind of over it already. I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, like
The,
you
the,
can't
the,
even
the, the
even.
one-for-one contracts is retarded.
But I mean, if you have
Or
two
the
guys on your
contract
team that
amounts you
both
have.
make $60 million, you know, maybe you should have enough talent on your team to win. I don't know what the argument is here, just because even with the old collective bargaining agreement, like it still made super teams really hard to win. Like I liked taking out like the mid-level exception if you have like 3 max players, like that's fine. Like no more mid-level, like all these things were fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with
But
it too.
but let motherfuckers trade 4 people for one guy if they want to. Like Milwaukee should
For
be
sure.
able to get Jimmy Butler right now because who's gonna fucking beat the Celtics? Like what are we even waiting for
Right.
in the NBA right now? So that's the biggest thing for me is like, well, technically Boston has all these guys. They fit it under the new CBA, which good for them. They were able to do it. But like, what are we doing? Like,
I don't know, like I don't think they should have made it so hard to make super teams because the super
they don't
team thing
work.
didn't really work that well. Like
Uh-uh.
it only worked for like LeBron in Miami was kind of a super team for like a couple years while he was there, and that worked because LeBron. And then when KD joined the Warriors, that worked, and that's it. We ain't seen anyone else put together a super team and win
Well, it's
or
just
even
one of
come
those
close.
things too, where it's like if this fucking hurts the trade deadline and there's less news coming out, and over the next 5 years we have way less all stars traded in the NBA, you're gonna see your ratings get even fucking worse.
Absolutely,
Plain and
absolutely.
simple.
Need to give people shit to talk about.
If you're the
And it
fucking
was hella
NBA,
entertaining. It was hella entertaining during the summertime whenever free agency rolls around and we got people doing crazy shit. And every
yeah,
trade deadline, we got people doing crazy shit.
it works.
It made it
The
very
NFL just
entertaining.
stole it. The NFL stole it.
Right,
Like I'm
right.
convinced. Like I said that 10 years ago. I was like, the NFL needs to start making trades, needs to start signing free agents and
Yeah,
quit this bullshit building franchises things as far as like being talked about when the season's not going on. And I feel like Roger Goodell was like, hey, motherfuckers, start doing this shit. Like it works.
yeah,
Like this is
yeah.
great. This is great for us. And like quit holding on to players for too long. It doesn't work anyways. So like, well, I know like Roger Goodell didn't actually do that, but there's a part of me that thinks wink wink he kind of did. Because he was like, dude,
Right,
like the NBA
right.
thrives in the offseason.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, the
leading up to free
NBA had
agency.
24/7 drama for a minute, and then like, CBA changes and all that shit goes out the
And I
window.
get the CBA changes, but like let's be honest, man. Like I feel bad for small market teams. It's like how do they compete? How do these I don't give a fuck how good these teams are. Nobody wants to watch Indiana versus Memphis in an NBA finals. Nobody wants to watch that anyways. So let the Knicks and let the Lakers spend as much money as they want. Let the Heat spend as much money as they want. Let the Rockets spend as much money as they want and get these fucking big markets good again. Because unless you have somebody that's
I feel
must
you.
see TV, like Ant and cats like that on these small market teams, it doesn't fucking work anyways.
Hey,
So
you get rid of that cap though. Lakers gonna have to sell their team. They ain't gonna be able to keep up.
and good. Like, get rid of these like the owners suck dick anyways, dog. The Buss family does not know what they're doing. I know they won a championship. That's because LeBron James came through there. Anthony Davis fell in their lap. Anybody can win a championship with prime AD and prime LeBron. But as soon as those motherfuckers went from 100% even to 99%, they ain't sniffed a final since. They ran that team into the ground after winning a championship. They ran it right into the fucking ground.
They won the chip and blew the team up with a perfectly built basketball team. They just blew it up and started from scratch.
Well, what also sucks now, too, about the new CBA, right, is like, so these taxes are all high. If you enter the second tax apron, you're fucked, right? And I don't think they thought of shit like this, but like, what about teams like Cleveland, who built this fucking roster? Like, we were smart enough to get Jared Allen to make this other trade work. We got him basically for free. We sit all of our assets out for Donovan Mitchell because we also have homegrown talent here in Garland and Mobley. So, like, and they put together this big four. Now they're going to lose one of these guys. Otherwise, they're going to have to enter the second tax apron. And Cleveland can't afford all these penalties that go along with that. And then it restricts them in free agencies because they lose their mid-level exception. And then it restricts them in trading for players. So, like, are we really going to make the Cavs get rid of Evan Mobley or Jared Allen or Garland because of a fucking stupid new season? Because a small market team did it right. Because they built a roster, did a sneaky good trade, and then took all their assets and got Donovan Mitchell for a 4 or 5 year championship window. Now you just shrunk their window by 2 years just because you had a couple teams like fucking Charlotte who suck dick anyways, bitching about big market teams. Makes no sense. It's a detriment to the league. I don't care what anybody says. It's going to hurt these motherfuckers, man. It's going to hurt these motherfuckers. Because at least if people aren't going to fucking try hard for the first 30 games of the season, at least we can speculate about where Jimmy Butler's going. At least we can speculate about where Zach LaVine's going. At least we can run all these. And, like, one of the funnest parts about this shit was like, oh, we're going to go to ESPN and we're going to get online and we're going to put a trade simulator together. And let's see if this trade goes through. Now none of them do. None of these fucking trades go through anymore because nobody has any fucking money. It's ridiculous. It's very, very frustrating. So, like, you just have to get lucky and draft a player. What do you say?
Speaking of Cleveland, they're 27-4. They're on pace for 71 wins.
Yeah.
How many they finished with?
66.
That's probably what I was thinking too.
66 to 67. No 70-win season for them. But then again, the only thing that might push them there is that they have to keep up with Boston.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I haven't seen Boston's record for the last couple of weeks. I've been doing family shit, holidays, haven't paid too much attention, but I'd be willing to bet the Cavs have the 1 seed. Have to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're 27-4.
And I think the Celtics have like 8 losses, I think. They just lost again to Indiana last night. But like that's not a lot of leeway. And if you're Cleveland,
not at all.
Getting 70 wins would be fucking huge. That's huge for your franchise.
No doubt.
That's coming in.
Boston's 23-9.
Like, and I'd be willing to bet my life on it. I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet the Cavs have never won 70 games before.
No, absolutely not. I know that for a fact.
And there's no way. There's probably only like 10 teams that ever even win 70 games, maybe like 5.
There's like 3 or 4.
So if you're the Cavs,
maybe I don't know if anyone's ever won like 70 games exactly, but I don't think anyone ever did. I think the Lakers that had the record for best record ever won like 69 games. Maybe they did win exactly 70, but there's not more than 3 teams that have ever done it for sure.
And if you can win, but even if like you just set your franchise record for most wins in a season without LeBron and you're the Cavs, that's a gigantic deal.
Yeah, that's fire.
Because like people can say what they want, like LeBron hasn't been there for 6-7 years. It doesn't matter. This is a new team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are the Cleveland LeBrons. Before he was there, they never won, and since he's left, they never won. And if you can start issuing in a new era of like, man, we fucking love Donovan Mitchell, man, we fucking love Mobley. Like these are the Cavaliers players, and there's less LeBron James jerseys there, and more Donovan Mitchell jerseys, more Evan Mobley jerseys, more Garland jerseys, more Allen jerseys, like. Those are all things that lead your franchise to being more successful in the future, and people not being like, "Well, look, LeBron's gone, so we suck dick." So that's a huge deal for the Cavs. Great fucking job. I'm super excited for them, but I think they're good enough to beat the Celtics. Like this is not a fluke. This is also not the Atlanta Hawks team that won 60 games. Like I think some people might want to compare them to them. This is a team that has a bona fide fucking playoff superstar on it with other all-star talent. That's a big difference from maybe Joe Johnson or Al Horford or Paul Millsap being your best player. That is a big difference. I ain't knocking none of those
Donovan
guys.
Mitchell's a stone cold killer. Now, them
Like,
dudes are hoopers. Like all them cats who played
Joe
for Atlanta
Johnson,
were
a Hall
hoopers.
of Famer. Al Horford, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Paul Millsap, not so much in my opinion, but there's maybe a case to be made for him.
Really good, solid player who played a long time in the NBA. Though, like
as good as the role players can even get. As good as role players get. So, like, he's right up there, like, not quite as good, but you're damn near as good as Zebo. So, like, Paul Millsap, a hooper. So, not knocking those dudes, but like, I do think that the Cavs have a chance to beat the Celtics. Do I think they will? No. Just because I think the Celtics bench is too much. Because when they're healthy, fucking Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard come off the bench and combine for 25 points efficiently every night. Like, Peyton Pritchard had fucking 16 points and 10 assists and 8 rebounds off the bench the other night. And he's the leading favorite for 6th man of the year. That's insane. Like, that's fucking insane. So, but he's still like some small white dude. People can say what they want. Peyton Pritchard was like, oh, I wish motherfuckers wouldn't make a comment about my skin color. Fuck off, whitey. That's what it is. You're slow.
I heard that shit, dude.
Fuck off, whitey. You slow, motherfucker, and that's what it is. And motherfuckers need to start breaking you off, dog, because your defense, like, I see you out there trying, motherfucker, but, like, you still, like, a white dude who's not athletic. Like, you ain't athletic like some other white boys to get through the league. So he can be exploited. That's why you only play 18 minutes a night, even though you're good. So, but I do think the Cavs have a shot. I don't really know what to think of the Western Conference right now. I think it's OKC's and nobody else's now at this point. Like, they've pretty much made a point. I think OKC only has 5 losses. Like, 6 losses. Like, they're right behind the Cavs.
They're 26-5. Good God.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, they're clear cut. And they've dealt with injuries a lot of the season. Like, no Chet, no Hartenstein. Like, Chet's still not back. And these motherfuckers beat the shit out of everybody. So, like, I really, really like what they're doing over there. I think we might have picked – I think we said OKC was probably going to be the team to come out of the West, if not Dallas. I think that's what we were saying when the season started. But, like, if these motherfuckers win 65, 66 games, they're going to win the West. It just is what it is.
69.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to win the West. Like, you don't win 66, 67 games and lose your conference unless you're the Spurs and because the Warriors won 73.
Right.
Because the Spurs won 67 games the year that the Warriors won 73.
That was wild.
And nobody knows it.
But Spurs were super good for that year and the next year. 2016 and 2017, the Spurs were super good.
Nothing a Jaja Pachulia foot can't take care of in 5 seconds, so don't even worry
I heard that shit.
So, but yeah, man. So, like, if we, like, I have a hard time believing, me personally, because we've always said this about the Celtics, is that, like, yeah, they got it done last year, but, like, are they a nitty-gritty, tough basketball team who can get it done against a team that's just as good as them? I don't know. I do know they have the best roster in basketball. I do like their head coach. I do like their 2 all-star tandem in Tatum and Brown. I just don't know if they have the fucking cojones to do it. I just don't know. Nothing they did last year.
When shit gets gritty.
Yeah, nothing they did last year showed me the Celtics are a different team. It showed me they're really talented. It showed me that they know how to play basketball, but it didn't show me that they know how to go to a knockdown, drag-out 7-game series. You're limping on the court game 7. What do you got for the last 48 minutes of your life? I haven't seen it yet. I trust Drew Holiday in that moment. I trust Al Horford. Maybe that's enough to get the guys to jump on board and play well. You know? But
maybe they're going to shoot so many threes that they're going to be ahead by 10 points every game, and it's not going to be no.
That'll be our next podcast discussion because I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying that you can shoot 53s a night and win. I don't believe it. It doesn't make sense.
They did it last year, didn't they?
Because they had the best basketball team.
But they still shot 53s a night.
Yeah, but when you have a team that's far better than everybody else's, you can shoot 53s a night and still win games. What I'm saying is if they go against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Cavaliers say, you know what, shoot as many threes as you want, but we're going to slow the game down a little bit, play through our bigs, make sure we gobble up every defensive rebound and not allow fast break points. We'll see. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. But I'm not buying it. And, like, here's my thing. Is like, if they beat the Cat, like, all these teams they're beating shooting 53s a game, they're supposed to beat these teams whether they shoot 53s or 0 threes. the better
Yeah,
team
but they be beating
wins
the brakes off of fools a lot of the time, though.
because they're better. Like in the last decade, there's only been one team with a better starting five than them in the last decade, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That you can sit there and say 1 through 5, this team's better than them. It's the Warriors, but take them out. Like we haven't seen a team this good in a long time, in a really long time.
Yeah.
They're one of the best teams I've ever seen as far as roster construction and like 1 through 7. You can't even get a better 1 through 7 right now.
Yeah, I would say we've seen two teams in the last decade. I'd say the KD Warriors, obviously, and I think even the 2016 Warriors before KD was there, but I also think the 2017 Cavs beat the fucking shit out of this
Only because of
Boston
LeBron,
team.
though. Not a better roster.
Right, but they have LeBron, so he makes the roster better. I think their 1 through 5 is cumulatively better than Boston's.
But that's an instance of like the best player on the floor wins.
Fair.
So that's my question to you, right? So let's say the fucking Celtics go out there and they shoot fucking 53s a game and they do all this gay shit we don't want to fucking watch and they fucking do all this weird shit. But the Cavs, right? But the Cavs come in and Donovan Mitchell is the best player in that playoff series. And the Celtics out here only shooting fucking 30% from 3 in the series. The Cavs will win that series. The Cavs will win. Without question.
If Boston only shoots 30% from 3, then yeah, they'll be in trouble.
And when you shoot 53s a night, there will be 2 games in a playoff series if you that you give the games away. That's the problem with shooting 53s a night is you will have a couple games in a series that you handed over to the other team strictly from shooting like shit. They didn't have to try. The other team didn't even have to try. So you give 2 games away in a series because you shoot like shit, and then Donovan Mitchell pops off for 50 in a game and beats you. Like, that's the dangerous game you play when you shoot 53s a game and all the fast break points that's going to lead to. And Porzingis can't just roam around and toss shots because if he does, he's going to get dunked on from behind by Jared Allen or Mobley. Like, that team's is going to be a really frustrating thing for the Celtics. They should win because they have the better team. And I just don't know, though. I just don't know if what we're watching is sustainable for a championship when you play a team that's arguably as good as you. That's all I'll say. It doesn't make sense.
Well, we'll find out in a few months.
It just doesn't account. It doesn't account for fouls. So when you shoot a bunch of threes, you never go to the free throw line. It doesn't account for long rebound, fast breaks. It only accounts for, like, this is how stupid statisticians are. They say, well, if you shoot 38% from 3 or you shoot 48% from 2, you have more points with 3s than 2s. That doesn't even describe a basketball game. It doesn't even describe a whole basketball game, even kind of. Even kind of. There's so much more that goes into basketball. It's insane. So that's why I don't think it'll work. I also don't think, like, because when we watched the Celtics last year, when they played the Mavericks, we all thought in our head, wow, if Luka and Kyrie don't average 70 points a game, they lose. That's what we thought. And we were correct. And they both even played well because they just played a far better team. And, like, that's kind of like the Celtics can play athletic. They can play big if they want to with Al Horford and Porzingis. They can play a lot of ways. But my biggest concern for them is, can you play those ways actually, or are you just going to keep falling in love with the three-pointer?
Yeah, I think they can. I hope they can't because I don't like the Celtics. Like,
Right.
as a Celtics hater, I'm hoping that I'm wrong about all this shit and they suck, and I'm hoping the things that you say are going to come to fruition and they're going to shoot themselves out of a series and lose. But I think they're too good to shoot themselves out of a series.
But that's what I'm saying. See, that's the exact thing is, well, they're too good. They're too good to shoot themselves out of a series because they have a better team. It's not because they shoot 53s a night they win. It's because they're better. That's all I'm saying is I don't think shooting 53s a night will win. I think if they shoot 53s a night in the playoffs consistently, they will not win unless you see that one guy. You see Jaylen Brown is the guy who attacks the rim consistently in those playoff series. Then they can win because you have a guy that's forcing the pressure on defense, forcing everything.
Well, I know during last year's finals, I was looking at like the 3-pointers after every game. And I believe there was 3 games that Boston won that if every 3-pointer shot by both teams was turned into a 2-pointer, Boston would have lost. But they won because they were 3s instead.
Right, threes are worth more than two, but I do think that we need to look at the other side of the spectrum here of, well, they won because they were better, not because they shot 50 threes. That's all I'm saying. It's like you can say like, oh, if you turn their threes into twos, if you do this, if you do that, like if the Mavericks had players on their team that could score buckets besides two guys, that's the contributing factor. Because Boston isn't a situation of like, well, if Tatum doesn't score 20 and Jaylen Brown don't score 20, Porzingis or Drew Holiday probably did. If Luka or Kyrie don't score 20 points, they lose by 30. So like that's what I would say is like, we'll see.
I think it's a big part of it. I think making all those threes is like super beneficial because not only are threes obviously worth more than two, like a lot more, but usually when you're getting 3-pointers, your offense is moving quicker. You're getting 3-pointers off quicker than you're getting off twos.
Yeah, but you're not creating fouls. You're not creating any type of pressure on the defense. The defense isn't having to exert a lot of energy to guard you, so they have more energy as well.
That's not true. Like it depends on the flow of your offense. Like I haven't watched the Celtics a ton to see how their offense flows when they're shooting all these threes, and like I know their offense
They
flows
don't
well,
have
but you
quite.
don't have like
They don't have
like
the
Steph
action.
and Clay like run. Like Steph and Clay be running. Like
They don't
you're
have that
expending
kind
a
of
lot of
action.
energy guarding those dudes from three.
They
So
don't have that kind of
kinda
action. They don't have
But
that
it
kind of
depends on
action.
like no, they don't. But it's like there's still ways to, and it's also like making threes, making it rain on motherfuckers is demoralizing.
For sure. For sure. No, I agree. I get it. But like I think there's a reason though why like so many teams have tried to shoot threes to win rings and none of them have done it. Like even the Warriors, right? They won their first championship against a hobbled up Cleveland Cavaliers team. Hobbled.
Mhm.
No Clay. I mean, no Kyrie, no Kevin Love. And then next year, after they win a championship, they finally have the confidence to do it. They finally say, you know what? We can win like this. We're going to win 73 games. And you know what happened? They fucking lost. They fucking lost that fucking finals because they fucking shooting too many goddamn fucking three-pointers. And well, because LeBron's just the best player in the world. And then the Houston Rockets were like, well, we can do it too. We can
Yeah,
do it.
I don't think they lost because of the threes. Like I think they lost because
The
what you said.
Warriors
LeBron said
The Warriors don't win more championships without Kevin Durant going there and balancing the offense.
for sure, for sure. But that's because like LeBron James existed.
Right. But I mean, like, all I'm saying is, like, there's a lot of guys that exist out there, though, that can go get buckets not shooting threes. But, like, luckily for the Celtics right
But
now.
if Kevin Durant doesn't join the Warriors, I don't see any team still being able to stop the Warriors outside of LeBron James.
Been interesting to see.
Like in 2016, I mean, they came back from 3-1 against
Thunder.
Oklahoma City. So there's obviously nobody in the West that can beat them. There was no one in the East who was even kind of good. And
Yeah. But, you know, if Al Horford goes to the Thunder, like he said he was going to if Kevin Durant stayed, you know, if the Thunder, you know, it's interesting. We can do a lot of what ifs, but, like, maybe the Warriors would have won again. Because the Warriors did win a championship without KD. They did it.
Right.
Now, the league was pretty sucky when they did it, but that's not their fault. They still did it.
Right.
So you can't take it away from them. Not even trying to say the league sucked. That's the only reason they won. They won because they're champions, plain and simple. That's just what it is. They won because they knew how to. Whenever the rest of the league was trying to figure it out, they got a really sweet spot. Like that was a sweet spot to get.
No
one
doubt.
more in.
No doubt. The NBA is in an interesting place. The NBA is like the 70s right now. Like we got no dynasties. There is like there's nobody young in the league right now who we can look at and be like, that dude is that dude. He's like gonna chase the goats. He's gonna chase that.
Joker's interesting.
Joker is interesting. He can he'll be really high on the list. If he gets another championship, he's gonna be like top 17, top 15 on everyone's list. He'll be top 10 on some people's lists. That might be excessive, but maybe not. But yeah, outside of that, I don't. But he's also got to get another chip, and the way Denver sits right now, he's gonna have a real tough time.
Well, that's the shame part of it, right? And I think that we need to start looking at things a little differently, just because, like, I feel like if Joker played with Magic Johnson, I feel like he'd have another championship. Call me silly, but prime Magic Johnson on the Nuggets right now, I think they win a championship. Call me silly.
No, absolutely,
But that's
absolutely.
what I'm saying.
But
So like, it's really that's what sucks though, right? Is because like
it
Joker's
does suck.
amazing. Joker's amazing, right? But now we're
Mhm.
in a situation of like, well, he doesn't have anybody else on his team who's any fucking good. Like your team's okay. Like nobody's saying the Nuggets like did a terrible job building that
Yeah.
roster because they're pretty good. But like Jamal Murray shot, Michael Porter Jr.'s a pussy. Like Aaron Gordon, no knock on you,
It
player.
sucks
I
'cause, like
fucks with you.
there's a lot of your own legacy that you don't get to control, and that's unfair. But that's what it is. So fucking like it or not, that's what it is. You don't get to be a top 10 NBA player of all time with only one ring. I don't care what the fuck you accomplished.
No, I
And I
agree.
think
I
the
agree
NBA community would
100%.
agree with me.
I agree
So
100%. But all
it
I'm
is what it
saying
is.
is it sucks.
Absolutely. But it does suck. But also, if Hakeem Olajuwon played with Magic Johnson, this motherfucker would have 8 championships.
He'd have them all.
He'd
He'd
have
have
them
them all.
fucking all.
He'd have all of them.
Like, like fucking. There was a thing I was reading about how like somehow Michael Jordan almost ended up with like another star on his team or on someone else's team. I don't remember how, but it was like either Michael and fucking Hakeem almost ended up on the same team, or maybe like Michael and Clyde or something. But either way, you put fucking Michael with another dude like Hakeem, dude, these dudes win fucking like 8, 9 championships in 12 years together.
Yeah. Like people were
So
saying like there was a rumor mill floating around there for a little bit. Like and it wasn't even a rumor, people just wanted it to happen like in the future. So they're like, what if? But they were like, what if Shaq and Michael Jordan play together like after Shaq got drafted? I'm like,
right,
well, they would have a dozen championships.
they would have won rings until Michael retired.
Like look at Magic
Every
and
year they would have
Kareem.
won.
Magic and Kareem won what, 5 championships in like fucking 9 years?
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah.
As fuck.
Yeah.
So
It would have been crazier than that if Michael would have been on the team with Shaq or fucking Hakeem. Like Michael won 6 and 8 years with Scotty. Imagine giving this dude a top 10 player of all time.
however, though, you did give Michael Jordan, though. You did give him like two of the greatest defenders ever, though.
Absolutely. Scotty's like the dopest role player of all time. Like you talk about dude like
Oh, it's
being
not
a
even
star
close.
and knowing his role. Like bad
I saw
motherfucker,
these
man.
like little pussy internet kids the other day ranking like best duos of all. You know how they do like the stupid blind rankings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like Pippen and Jordan came up and like they're like, we feel like that's overrated. Like that was mostly Michael. Like we're gonna put them at 4. I'm like, they're the best duo ever. Like if you're actually just
Right,
ranking
right.
duos, they're the best duo ever, and it's not even fucking close. It's not
I
even
agree.
close.
I agree.
Like I get that Kobe and Shaq are better than them. I get it.
I think if you want to put Kobe and Shaq in that conversation,
Or
you
Magic and
can.
Cream.
Magic and Cream can be in the conversation. Nobody else can be in the conversation.
Mm-mm. Agreed.
But even
They put LeBron
I
and D
think
Wade at 1.
that's fucking retards.
Kevin McHale and Larry
Whoever
Bird is this. That's the same level as Kevin McHale and Larry Bird.
go find whoever did that stupid shit so we can bully them online. Go find that fucking list and send it to me and bully these motherfuckers till they cry and
Till
quit the
suicide.
internet because
Till
that's
suicide.
fucking stupid ass shit, dude.
Like
But
they're the best
it's
tandem
like
ever. It's not even fucking close.
they three-peated twice. Shaq and Kobe three-peated once. How do you put someone else in that conversation? Like these motherfuckers
I
got
have no
6
idea.
championships. 6
In 8 years.
nonsense. In 8
In
years.
8 years.
These motherfuckers for the last 6 years, the last 6 full seasons that they played together, they won the championship every single year.
And it's bullshit just to even like because they were like, well, and then like their argument was like, well, like Michael Jordan when he retired that year, like the fucking Bulls went to
Yeah,
the second
they
round
went
of the
from
playoffs.
55 wins to 53 wins. Yeah, I get it. Or 57 to 55, one or the other. They lost
That doesn't
2 more
that
games.
makes their duo even better. That means that Scottie Pippen's actually
Facts.
better than we thought. And it makes their
Facts.
duo even fucking better.
Facts.
Because Scottie Pippen, no matter what anybody wants to say, is a top 5 small forward of all time, arguably. It'd be hard.
Arguably, for sure.
But like, can you name 5 guys? Like obviously like LeBron and KD and Dr. J.
And Larry, those are your top 4.
And Larry
in
Bird.
whatever order you want to put them in. Those are
And then
your
is
top
Scottie
4.
And then is Scottie number 5?
And then he's in the conversation. There's a handful of dudes you can throw Scotty. I'm not mad at Elgin Baylor being that fifth guy. I'm
I'm not
not.
that mad at Kawhi either.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I'm not mad at
I'm not
Kawhi.
mad at it, dude. But
Um,
that's how good this
but
motherfucker
those are the
is.
next. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you're talking
And
about the
Scottie
dudes who are
Pippen,
ahead of.
he'll
You're
never
talking about the
fall
dudes
off
who
the
are
top
ahead of him.
50
Right, right. You're
ever.
talking about all the dudes who are ahead of him are like dudes that are top 15 all time, depending on where you put KD and Dr. J. They're probably right around that 12, 13, 14, 15 spot.
Right.
But Larry and LeBron are like, I got LeBron number 2 all time, and Larry, he's somewhere around that, 6 to 7 spot, probably six,
Even
7, 8,
LeBron,
9.
even LeBron and D Wade are arguably behind KD and Steph.
Absolutely. I think they are, and it's not even close for me.
Like as far as like
It's not even
how
close.
good they were when they played together, like it's not like LeBron played with D Wade like 2 years after his championship and
The
shit. Like
Warriors were actually unbeatable with Kevin Durant. They were actually
correct.
unbeatable.
So, and I
The
would
Heat were
put
beatable,
LeBron,
obviously.
I would put LeBron and D Wade behind Steph and Clay.
Oh, no way.
As far as just like best duos go, because you have to put their 4 championships into it. You have to.
For sure, but the duo for 2 of those was Steph and KD.
Saw Clay dropped like 37 and a quarter while those guys were playing together, though. All I'm saying is
I
like
know.
there's a case to be
Wow.
made. Like obviously you'll take LeBron and D Wade, but there's a case to be made that as far as like better duo. I'd rather have Steph and Clay's duo ship than LeBron and D Wade's duo ship, though.
I mean,
I'll take my 4. I'll take my 4 in hundreds of millions as opposed to my 2 in hundreds of millions.
okay, but you talk about 4 rings versus 2 rings. Imagine that's like fucking adding a player to the Heat and making Dwayne Wade the third best player. Then they win more rings too.
I know, but that didn't happen. And we're just looking at these things through a scope. I know I would take LeBron and D Wade too. I'm just saying that like to put them at number 1, like this is how far on the list they actually are. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. This is how far down the list they actually are. Like Dr. J and Moses Malone might be a better duo than these two.
Dude, I can't put anyone above them for one ring, or I can't like
But
I
know that
know
you
that they
can't.
failed in 2011, but they accomplished a lot. They went to the finals every year and won it
But I'm
twice.
showing just how far down the list they actually are. Like if you look
Yeah,
at best
I
duos in
think
the NBA history, they don't make the top 5.
I think I'm not mad at anyone who puts them at number 5, but for me the top 4 is, your obvious top 3 is in no particular order: MJ and Scotty, Shaq and Kobe, Magic and Kareem, and then it's Steph and KD for me. And then there's probably a few guys that you can throw in that mix of best duo, but I'd probably have to put LeBron and D Wade at number 5.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, I
like,
ain't mad at
but
that.
for me, it's a distant 5 though. Those top 4 are so far ahead of them as a duo. Like my top 4 is locked. Like, and LeBron and Wade together ain't sniffing it.
No. And that's the thing is like I feel like if the Mavericks win a championship this year, obviously they're not, but like damn near Luka and Kyrie are right on the same level as LeBron and D Wade. Like I'm not impressed with having the best roster in basketball and only winning 2 championships. Like I'm just saying that like we also have to look at failures in this. And I
For
know
sure,
that
for sure.
these other cats were failing less. That's all I'm saying. But we're running low on time. So last thing, give a shout out. I want to do a shout out, keep the spirits high, maybe do a little something to actually, instead of just talking shit all the time, let's reward some of these players with something like, hey man, there you go. So who's your shout out of the week?
My shout out of the week goes to Puka Nakua from the Los Angeles Rams, because number one, I'm a big fan of him. He's a great player on our squad and he's very important. But when did we have our game? We played Saturday.
Correct.
And after the game, the reporter was asking him, "Do you know what that you guys can clinch the division tomorrow and how all that works and yada yada and what the actual stipulations are?" He said, "I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have any idea." And I was like, "Damn, I don't have any idea either," because these fools couldn't finish tied with the same record as Seattle, tied in conference record, tied in division record, all these things they can tie. I don't have a clue. He doesn't have a clue. So I'm like, all right, cool. It makes me feel less less bad about it. Um, but
It's
also
it's
just like shout out for keeping it real. Like there's a lot of weird rules and sports, and sometimes these guys just don't know, and we like to always make fun. I'm like, oh, they didn't even know the rule yet. It's like we didn't know the shit either. So like,
Well,
shout out to him for keeping it real and also being a baller.
when 4 teams have to fucking win a game for you to go to the playoffs, but there's still
Yeah,
another week left, and like a 3 win, but 1 doesn't, then like you could still lose to Seattle, but then like you could still go to the playoff. Like it's fucking stupid. So I'm gonna throw my
These are
shout
teams
out.
that ain't even in your division. Teams that ain't even in your division are playing for you to win the division.
I'm gonna shout out Joe Burrow. Playing amazing football, on pace to break the record for fewest interceptions in a 5,000-yard season. Really balling out. And the reason I want to shout him out is because if Denver loses on Sunday next week, and since he wins, since he go to the playoffs.
Nice.
And Joe Burrow gonna steal that MVP from whoever thought they deserved it. Joe Burrow gonna take that motherfucker. So shout out Joe Burrow for creeping like TLC in the shadows.
Come out of there.
And we get to watch Joe Burrow come play in fucking postseason. We all want that. We don't care about you, Bo Nix. I cared about you till today, motherfucker, and I hope you lose. They play the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are resting everybody, which is unfortunate. But I saw this thing. People are like, well, if you're the Chiefs, you'd rather the Broncos sneak in because you have trouble with the Bengals. And I'm like, if you're the Chiefs, you do not want to play the Broncos for the fucking 3rd time. You already barely beat them once. They got your number. Fuck that. NFL rig it. We want Joe Burrow, and shout out Joe Burrow for creeping in the shadows, dog, and keeping it going, dog, because that shit's impressive.
I heard that shit. NFL rig it. Get us
rig
Joe Burrow in the playoffs.
We need it. All right. We appreciate you, RiOT fam. We'll holla at y'all soon.
All right. Thanks for rocking with us. Stay up.
Peace.